You don't do this for freedom. You do it out of fear of being ignored. You post almost naked, and you hope someone stays. Men look, they comment, they slide into your DMs, but none of them choose you. You call it confidence, but inside, it's urgency. Urgency to be seen, urgency to not be forgotten. And here is the painful truth. This does not attract love. It attracts consumption, and consumption never creates connection. The more you expose yourself, the less curiosity you create. The more you give your body away, the less someone tries to know your soul. So the question is not about clothes, it's about emptiness. What inside you is begging for validation? What if the very thing you do to be chosen is exactly what pushes the right person away? This is not freedom. This is adaptation. You learn to shape yourself. You learn to please. You learn to be accepted, not for who you are, but for what you give. And it starts early. Carl Jung called this the persona, an emotional mask, created to survive, to avoid rejection, to avoid being forgotten, to avoid being invisible. You wear this mask without noticing. The persona is not born from desire. It is born from fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of not being chosen. Fear of being alone. So you compensate. You learn what works with image, what gets attention, what generates response, what triggers desire, and you repeat it, not for pleasure, but out of need, emotional need. You call this confidence, but it is strategy, a survival strategy, to be desired in order to exist, to be seen in order to matter, to be chosen to feel worthy, even if it is shallow, even if it is empty. And here is the point. This does not make you wrong. It does not make you weak. It does not make you superficial. It makes you human. It makes you wounded. It reveals your need for connection, and that matters. The problem is not the body. It never was. The problem is using it as emotional currency, to buy attention, to buy presence, to buy affection. That does not stay, because those who approach this way do not want to know you. They want to consume a version, an accessible image, without mystery, without depth, without waiting, without commitment. And when they leave, you ask why. You review photos, you rethink outfits, you think about posting more, showing more, changing more. But it is never enough. Here comes the relief. You are not broken. You are conditioned to perform, to deserve love. But love is not negotiated. Love is sustained. This does not happen by accident. It is not bad luck. It is not cruel destiny. You choose the same type, repetition, with different names, different faces, same ending, emotionally unavailable people, shallow, confused, distant. They promise little and deliver less, yet something pulls you in. It always does. You feel it at the beginning, a familiar chill, a known anxiety, an automatic effort. You try to please, you adjust yourself, you become easy, you try to be accepted. Here is the blind spot. Your unconscious recognizes it, not as danger, but as home. Because it was like this before, because it started like this, because it was like this with those who mattered, and the body remembers, so you give too much. Before being asked, before being chosen, before feeling safe, you anticipate abandonment, trying to prevent it, but you only speed up the same ending. You confuse intensity with connection, urgency with love, desire with presence, attention with attachment. And when you realize, you are already too invested, too alone, too tired, and when they pull away, you feel shame, anger at yourself, doubt. You promise to change, you promise to close off, you promise not to feel, but you repeat, because this is not a conscious choice. It is an emotional pattern, learned early, reinforced over time, silent, automatic, persistent, invisible. You seek those who must be convinced, those who choose because you. That feels like love, but it is effort, and effort is addictive, because it distracts from real pain, the pain of not feeling enough, alone. Here, everything starts to clear. It was not now. It was not him. It was not the last one. This comes from far away and it repeats until it is seen. The price starts to show. You feel tired, tired of trying, tired of waiting, tired of explaining yourself. Nothing changes. You begin to lose yourself. You abandon boundaries. You ignore discomfort. You accept crumbs. You tolerate silence. You normalize absence. And you call this maturity, but it is self-abandonment. Loneliness changes shape. It does not disappear. It settles in, even with messages, even with invitations, even with touch. You feel out of place, alone inside. Over time, the woman not chosen becomes identity. The woman who waits, the woman who adapts, the woman who understands too much and asks for too little. You start to believe this as truth. So, you try to fix it by loving more, by giving more, by explaining better, by being more available, more understanding, more open. Nothing works. When that fails, you try the opposite. You shut down, you disappear, you pretend detachment, but emptiness enters too. You build walls. You try to distract yourself. More posts, more attention, more validation, more dates, more bodies, less silence, less depth. Nothing fills it. Nothing lasts. Because you are not empty of people. You are empty of yourself, disconnected from your truth, from your boundaries, from your worth, and it hurts. This is where clarity comes. The problem is not loving. It is losing yourself while loving. It is not feeling. It is abandoning yourself while feeling. It is not wanting connection. It is accepting anything to avoid being alone. And when you realize this, it hurts, but it frees you. Because the mistake was never feeling too much. It was forgetting yourself every time you tried to be chosen. And now it is clear, healing does not start outside. It starts when you stop. Stop running, stop pleasing, stop over-explaining, stop offering before
Stop
being
adapting
asked.
to what
hurts, and observe. The first action is simple, hard but simple. You start saying no, no to confusion, no to disappearance, no to low effort, no to what makes you anxious, even if it hurts. Saying no creates silence. And silence is scary because there is no distraction in it, no external validation, no applause, just you, your body, your truth. The second action requires
do not give
presence.
yourself too fast.
You
do
slow
not
down.
over-explain.
You do not anticipate affection. You observe actions, not words, not promises. You start to notice who sustains presence, who respects pace, who accepts boundaries, who does not demand performance, who does not pressure, who does not consume, who stays. At first, it feels empty. Fewer messages, fewer invitations, less attention, but more clarity, more peace, more dignity, more inner
Your body
space.
responds.
Anxiety decreases, urgency drops, your mind slows down, you sleep better, you breathe better, you feel better, without proving anything. This does not push love away, it pushes illusion away. It does not isolate you, it protects you. It does not harden you, it aligns you with who you are, for real. Slowly, you return to yourself, to your center, to your axis.
You do not need to rush.
You do not need
You do
to
not
show.
need to
Beg. You wait. And waiting now is different. It is not neediness. It is choice. It is not fear. It is awareness. It is not emptiness. It is space. Hey, come back here. Stop everything now. What comes next is the most important part of all this. If you miss this, you miss the whole point. Up to now, you understood the pattern. You understood the wound. You understood the mechanism. But something is still missing, because understanding alone does not heal everything. Clarity helps, but it cannot sustain you by itself. This is where God enters, not as an easy explanation, not as a ready-made answer, not as a reward for suffering. God enters as presence, as someone who stayed when everyone else left. When you lost yourself, He did not leave. The loneliness you feel is not punishment. It is an invitation, a quiet calling, to return inward, to leave performance behind and become whole. The Bible says something simple, yet deep. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything flows from it, not from being desired, not from external approval. Life comes from within. God does not ask for exposure, He asks for truth. He does not ask for seduction, He asks for wholeness. He does not ask you to show more. He asks you to respect yourself more, because He sees value where you forgot to look. Maybe God did not remove people. Maybe He removed you from places where you shrank yourself, where you sold yourself emotionally, where you accepted crumbs, calling it love, calling it choice, calling it destiny. There is a sacred season when nothing happens outside because everything is happening inside. God quiets external noise to heal internal confusion, to align desire, to restore boundaries, to return peace. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Prepared to never lose yourself again. Prepared to stop negotiating your soul. Prepared to recognize healthy love. When it arrives, loneliness changes meaning here. It stops being punishment and becomes protection. It becomes a school, a place of reunion. Between you and yourself, between you and God, without rush. And when this integration happens, something settles. You no longer run. You no longer beg. You no longer expose yourself to exist. You remain whole. Now you understand. It was never about clothing. It never was. It was about worth, about identity, about trying to be chosen. Before choosing yourself, that changes everything. You do not need to disappear or hide or prove yourself or sell yourself. You can exist whole, without overexposure, without emotional performance, without fear. The love that stays does not begin in the body. It begins in boundaries, in pace, in presence, in clarity, in reciprocity, in respect. When you choose yourself, something shifts. The wrong people fall away. Without effort, without drama, without struggle, and that is not loss. It is protection. Desire with commitment, confusing intensity with love, words with actions, promises with presence. You see clearly, with awareness, without urgency. The body stops being currency and becomes expression of safety, of wholeness, of dignity. You do not hide, but you also do not expose yourself to be seen. You honor yourself. God did not call you to compete, or fight for attention, or beg to be chosen. He called you to align, to sustain who you mature, even when no one is watching, especially then. The right person is not drawn to desperation. They are drawn to peace, to clear boundaries, to a steady gaze, to a guarded heart, to a whole woman who does not chase, who remains. You did not lose love. You gained awareness. It was not rejection. It was redirection. It was not delay. It was preparation. And now you know. You can change your destiny. And when someone arrives, it will not be confusion. It will not be anxiety. It will not be urgency. It will be calm. It will be clarity. It will be mutual choice. It will be peace. The cycle closes here. You do not need to show more. You need to sustain more. Sustain who you became, with truth, with faith, with boundaries, and silence. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to our channel right now. Here, you do not get empty advice. You get clarity. Every video is an invitation to mature, realign, and stop losing yourself. You are not alone in this process. Walk with us. If you made it to the end of this video, comment, "I choose myself." This simple act is a commitment to your awareness. Every conscious decision creates spiritual protection. When you choose yourself, God sustains the process, and peace begins to take shape.